All right, we're back here for game 3 of a match in round number 1 of Modern Mondays here at Guardian Games in Portland, Oregon. I'm Travis Cooper, hanging out with
Ian.
we are both from Portland Paper. Ian is doing production and commentary at the same time. Uh, Fingers are going everywhere, mouth is going everywhere, just talking and typing. And we've got Titan Shift versus Miles's version of Eldrazi, which is Selesnya. We get some Noble Hierarchs, we get some Ancient Stirrings, and instead of the Leonin Arbiter package. What do you think about this matchup, Ian?
Well, I think first off, Miles has a very interesting take on the deck. I do love the use of Noble Hierarchs in Eldrazi decks, just even more acceleration. And I think the fail rate of these Eldrazi decks, you know, kind of your worst hands, you're still able to put some creatures on board and attack. And I kind of like that in Modern. But both these decks playing a pretty solid game plan.
I saw when I was scouting tables out there to see if we could find some folks between matches, I saw on Miles' side of the table there were 2 Leyline of Sanctities that were out, and you know, seems like a decent card against some Valakut triggers there, especially if you're deploying large creatures as well.
Absolutely. Beyond killing with Valakut, the deck has to be attacking with Titans, and if Miles can put up enough blockers, although I guess they're soaking up Valakut triggers.
Oh.
And notably, Reality Smasher not protected from Valakut triggers.
No, it is not. But Miles is playing Path to Exile in the deck and is playing Eldrazi Displacer, so it definitely gets to be complicated. All right, we have an Eldrazi Temple plus a Ghost Quarter, which I feel like that's always an interesting line of how to sequence your temples. But if you've got one and you don't have a second one, usually playing it on turn 1 is the right way to go if you have a Thought-Knot Seer in your hand. Which it seems like Miles is probably on white creatures or on big creatures, not deploying anything on turn 3 here.
Justin playing one of my favorite mountain arts from the APAC series of mountains.
I'm curious if we're going to get like all different mountains from APAC or if we're going to have this version. We're definitely going to see some lands though. Gonna get a Farseek.
Yeah, you know Titan Shift's going to deliver on the lands.
Yeah, it's because it's STE is his initials, and then people just put VE on the end of it. I don't know why.
Seems to make sense.
It's gonna be a go to you. Yeah.
Justin and Miles discussing why Sakura Tribe Elder is called Steve.
Okay, we get a turn 3 Thought-Knot Seer here. And, oh,
that's redundancy.
That's going to be a prime time. Unless, I guess, Miles could take the Spirit Guide, but it's going to go for a Titan.
So I wonder if Justin is on the Through the Breach version then, because I don't see Spirit Guide as often in the heavier Scape Shift versions of this deck.
That definitely leads me to believe that there is Through the Breach in the deck, and I'm curious if there's even Escape Shift.
I kind of like the one of Scape Shift.
Yeah, it gives you interesting outs to several different things that Modern can throw at you that you're unexpected.
Play this. I will fetch. I missed my. I'm at 15.
Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mountains. And
So then I'm just gonna trigger him.
curious if we're gonna get
I exiled this
2 Valakuts, or if we're gonna get a Valakut plus mountain.
I'm heavily in favor of 2 Valakuts here, especially with Miles sitting on a Ghost Quarter. If he paths your Titan and you do not have 2 Valakuts and he Ghost Quarters one of them, you're in a bad place. But if he paths the Titan currently or Ghost Quarters of Valakut, you're getting a trigger in either case.
Got 2 ghost quarters over there.
I will pass the turn to you.
Excellent.
This is actually a pretty interesting situation.
Colored land. Um,
Yeah, if Miles doesn't have a path here, it's going to be tough sledding.
let's do this.
Yeah, because you're going to have to ghost quarter both of those Valakuts.
Let's destroy both of those.
Okay, so you do them one at a time. So
yeah.
I'm going to get at least one check because the first one of them will have to resolve while a Valakut is on the battlefield. And then
Justin explaining that
Okay.
you can put both your Ghost Quarters on the stack at the same time. However,
Yeah.
as they resolve, he's going to get a trigger
I see
out
what
of the
happened.
first Valakut going to the graveyard.
I'll just take it to 17.
Or I suppose, rather the first mountain coming into play.
that,
Yep.
I will shoot you. Or I'll act.
And I think Justin's answered your question about basic mountain art. Appears they're all the same.
Okay, looks like Miles is getting shot for 3 there off that 1 Valakut trigger.
Then let's snipe your other Valakut.
Okay.
And
Valakut triggers on
Yeah.
the stack.
Wait, well,
Well, unless you're. I mean, you can wait for it to resolve. Which.
yeah, I'll just wait for it to resolve.
Okay.
Justin going to find
Just
another
don't want
basic.
another
Curious if we're going to
big
get a path here.
Also, while you're at it, I'll just pack.
Justin intelligently searching up a forest there. He's already at 6 mountains. There's not really, you might as well save as many mountains in your deck as you can at this point, just in case it ends up being a longer game and you
I'll smack you.
make use of all of those mountains worth of triggers.
Yeah, make sure you can escape shift for lethal if that's in there as a 1 of.
Your turn.
So Miles actually navigating that really well in such a way that Justin's just sitting on lands here.
We're counting some lands.
Oh.
And
Yes.
we get a Summoner's Pact.
God flippin' damn it.
Miles reluctantly allowing it to resolve.
So does Titan Shift play 4 Valakuts or 3?
So it's a good question. I have seen both. I prefer to play 4 in an environment where there's so many Field of Ruins.
Yeah.
That said, you know, you do risk losing tempo early in the game playing more Valakuts as they come into play tapped. So, but it looks like Justin is in fact playing 4.
Oh, we get the Miser's non-foil Valakut too.
Which leads me to believe that that maybe he plays this list in a couple different ways depending on the week.
Okay, that makes sense. Like perhaps if you're on the Through the Breach version, you do play 4. For the sweet end of turn Through the Breach, get to attack, play a Tribe Elder attack, get 2 more.
Right.
Here you go.
Okay, this has been really swingy. I was like, Miles nabbed the prime time and both Valakuts. Looking pretty alright, but
Yeah, but in the township.
get a township for Miles, and
Miles line might be the hope Justin does not pay for Pact.
that doesn't even work so well nowadays. And we are a regular REL anyways.
You just convince him to tap out for something else, and then you remind him of the Pact.
Ooh, that's called cheating.
Oh. That said, I think both of us come down on the side of if you don't pay for Pact, you should lose.
Yes, you should concede in disgrace, because the card literally says you lose the game. I feel strongly about that, even if the rules don't.
And I play Amulet Titan, and I also feel strongly that that should be the case.
You used to play a fair amount of Titan Shift too, if I'm not incorrect.
Yeah.
Oh, Displacer.
I'll take 1 from that.
Oh yeah.
And Miles taking 1 to cast it. And
Your turn.
not looking so hot over here, because we're seeing, let's see, 6, 12,
If I didn't have
18.
dice, I actually probably would have forgot it right there. So I picked it up. I'm like, wait a second. What is this for?
Blinking Prime Time just is not. It's
Uh,
just not a great line.
I feel like that's a line where you lose. I think
I'll flame slash with that Natsu.
oof, just the rub ends there. Get a flame slash on the Thought Knot Seer.
Flame Slash, one of those cards that I was not really expecting would creep into Modern, but it seems like everybody has been into important 4 toughness targets of late. So
I feel the reason why it is in Modern is pretty much solely because Thing in the Ice.
9, 12. I will deal all 12.
I can get on board with that.
All right, that's a
Yeah, I'm dead.
12 damage going to Miles and
Darn it.
scooping it up.
You don't think it's maybe for Hooting Mandrills?
I mean, I have seen some Hooting Mandrills in the 4-color Death Shadow list in the sideboard. 7 out those for Become Immense, but no.
So
I
it's
think
settled.
it has-
Definitely for Hooting Mandrills.
I think it just has some, it's a removal spell that has some added applications for getting 4 toughness creatures, and the fact that it's a sorcery is
This means Spirit Guide allowed me to
not important in a lot of the decks that are sideboarding it in.
I don't know. It's
And you would have cast the other Titan.
All right, we almost used up all of our time there for 2 good matches. And is that about what you how you would have expected that match to play out?
Yeah, I mean, had Justin not top decked a Summoner's Pact, I mean, he needs to top deck one of his impact cards there. If he doesn't, then he probably just loses in the next couple turns.
Yeah, it feels like after board, though, you're siding in some other creatures. You got Summoner's Pact, you probably have some amount of like Obstinate Baloths or etc. There's a lot of top decks that could prevent you from dying. Oh, it looks like we get to see what Justin did sideboard in. Got an Abrade.
There's a
Chameleon
Tireless
Colossus.
tracker.
I effectively tried to roll up the
That
banana.
he must have the Tireless tracker main then, if
Yeah.
he's not. That's interesting.
but I won't tell anyone.
I guess the Chameleon Colossus is interesting too, but maybe just another threat that doesn't, to max out, that Miles can only play 4 paths. So
Right.